Look, this is just an informal chat. We were wondering what you were working on in your lab.
Well, I've invented a pill that gives worms to ex-girlfriends.
Right, and what's positive about that?
Well, it's a pill that gives worms to ex-girlfriends.
Well, could it also give worms to ex-boyfriends?
This is a drug for the world to give worms to ex-girlfriends.
Well, great. Thanks for stopping by.
You just don't get it here.
I'll eat my neighbors. See, my superpower is being honest. I'll eat your ass.
We're going to start our volleys. We hope you like the show. For everything is ready. We're raring to go. We'll give you all the latest songs and dances full of pep. We're gonna start with hot shots. Just watch this chorus steps.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Fantastic Comics Presents number 73. Today, we're going to be ranking our betters with guest Rick Worley. We're also going to have a whole bunch of other things going on that we're going to talk about. And at 25 minutes, we're going to have an unboxing. Whoa, an unscheduled unboxing. I ordered this just the other day, and it's a day early. I thought this was going to have to be next week. So happy and excited to share this with you. My name is Yule. I own Fantastic Comics in Berkeley, California. We are not just a YouTube comic book talk show about comic books, but we are also talking from a comic store perspective's point of view, or an owner of a store. Can a store think? It orders things I would never order. And it's strange. Sometimes I say, like, how did this get in here? I do all the ordering. Maybe it's like a venom suit. It's like taken over me and does the ordering. I know that sometimes when I'm done doing a large order, a pre-order, usually from Diamond, since they have so many companies, not for long, all of the time and effort goes into putting these numbers in the system. And it takes you over. I didn't think I was going to talk about this. It really, you kind of go in a daze and you're just going along and you're sometimes paying attention to what you're doing, but other times it's Spider-Man that's coming out for the 5th time this month. There's a series that's going to come out accordingly, alongside it. And you order the numbers accordingly to the people that buy Spider-Man. How boring is this? And then right as you're done, a new order book comes in, and it's like you start the whole thing all over again. Ugh. Why do I do this? I love comics. This is not a bitch fest, I promise you. We are not going to just be all doom and gloom about the comic industry, although I do have some bad news for you that are coming in tomorrow that already shopped with us on Tuesday. We will not be getting our Diamond shipment until probably sometime in the evening tomorrow when we are long closed. So, if you are getting anything other than DC Comics tomorrow, you might want to hold off until Thursday. Stay tuned to our social media. Let's see. Is there a thing for that? Oh, yeah, right here. Subscribe to the channel here. Hit the bell for notifications. Hit thumbs up if you enjoy what you're listening to or think you might. And also follow Fantastic Comics. We have a Patreon page, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. On Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter tomorrow, I will be saying we're not going to have Diamond Comics because of I don't know if I'll blame UPS, but they said we were going to be getting our books today. And then an hour or two ago, they said, it'll be tomorrow, sometime tomorrow. And such is life for a comic store. So if you are coming in to shop at our store for anything other than DC or last week's or other week's comic books, you're going to be disappointed. But you will get good conversation, not unlike this. And I'll let you have something to say also. Speaking of things to say, why don't we say hello to the people in chat?
What's up?
What's up?
What's up?
What's up?
What's up?
Hello.
What's up?
A long time ago, I found out that you murdered that guy, put his beer in the fridge, getting ready for this. I hope it is living up to the chilling. Fantinuum, Jill B. Pill is in the other room, and Jacob Ayers. Yo, what's up, boys? My comic shop talks to me sometimes. Walk 37 into Hizzy. All right, that's crazy. Typical Diamond. Well, again, it might be UPS. As far as we knew, it was en route earlier today. Deviant Porg, yo, what's up, man? And CBD ruined. Well, there was a couple of really good DC comics. I'll be talking about them with my guest in just a moment. And it looks like I got everybody. And you know what? For everybody after the fact that are coming in to watch this, maybe tomorrow morning, I also have this to say to you.
What's up?
What's up?
What's up?
What's up?
What's up?
Hello.
What's up?
Oh, Eric Breen. Gosh darn it. Let me guess. A walk and a home run. That's going to be my guess. DC did have a good week. I agree. All right. So those are the things that happen as far as this store is concerned. Let me see. Is there anything else? In 25 minutes, we're going to have an unboxing. So if you want to see what I purchased, show up then or fast forward to then. I'll do a little link. Speaking of links in the bottom, if you want to get on our Patreon page, it's in the description down below. And now, let's say, without further ado, let me introduce our guest, Rick Worley. Yo, what's up, man?
Not a lot. How are you?
I may get different clapping later on. That was for last week's guest, and I'm reusing it.
Are good. It's all right. What's up?
Not much. How are you?
I'm okay.
I saw you 2 weeks ago, and we were talking about Woody Allen, which was a documentary that you did called Woody Allen. Oh, by the way, Woody Allen is innocent.
And this week we're talking about why Harvey Weinstein's innocent, right?
We are not defending Harvey Weinstein at all, or any other. Ooh, wait a second. It says Warren Ellis right down there. We will be talking about Warren Ellis because I want to talk about some comic books that are going to be coming out that I think are exciting. And I want to see if you might agree. And one of them just got announced, I think earlier today. Warren Ellis is going to have a comic coming out. And I'm pretty excited. There's good creators involved, and we need good creators involved in comics, I feel. What do you think?
Do I think Warren Ellis is a good creator?
No. Yeah, sure. Why not? I mean, he's not an image character guy.
No.
But, I've heard kind of like when we were talking about Woody Allen last time. Now I hear, he never really made that good a movie anyway. That type of stuff,
Oh, about Warren Ellis? Yeah.
Yeah, now I've heard that today, or I've read that today. Social media, you only have to read it once. But someone said, his endings aren't that great. And someone's all, oh, yeah, and this book. Oh, yeah, and this book, and it's kind of like, I don't like it.
Really,
I don't like Warren Ellis that much.
Yeah, I never liked him.
I've never put him in such high esteem. He's like a lot lower. If we're talking like the British writers coming over here, he's a lot lower. But every new Cy Spurrier pushes him up a little bit. But
Yeah, I wasn't a big Warren Ellis fan, but I'm sure I read several things and I liked him. He wasn't a favorite or anything, but he's. I'm not going to pretend now that he only wrote bad comics now because we don't like him anymore.
Oh yeah, I mean, what, The Authority sucks all of a sudden? I mean, it might be steeped in its time, and you might have a critique about it, but it's a pretty good book. It's not the worst thing I've ever read.
No,
it's pretty high up there too, I think, as far as like superhero stuff.
I liked Fell. Are you sure he wrote Fell? I don't know why I was so convinced somebody else wrote Fell.
Even Sequential Geek's saying it right here. Ellis and Temple Smith. That's right. That's right. It was a $1.99 comic book that was about 16 pages, I think.
Yeah, I remember that.
It was near black and white, if I'm not mistaken, maybe with like a blue sheen or something. Let me see here. Never really liked Warren Ellis, but people are lying if they weren't drilling. Exactly. He Next Wave. He's done a lot of stuff.
Oh,
his Moon Knight and his Karnak. Yeah, those were good.
For some reason, I thought Matt Fraction did Fell, which I don't know where I got that.
He did Five Fists of Science, if I'm not mistaken. Matt Fraction around that time.
And he was doing a Casanova comic, and
yeah. So, how are you 2 weeks away from then? How you doing?
The same, but yeah, I'm good.
Still reading Spider-Man?
Yeah, I've been working on my big Spider-Man reread. Do you want to get into that, or do you want to go into?
No. We'll just Image will be in just a few minutes. I just wanted to like shoot the shit, but why don't we just talk about some comic books that are coming out? I'm gonna put some pictures up on the screen and see if you think any of them are worth it. So this is what would have come out tomorrow, and some stuff that came out today, like DC Comics. First up, we have Batman Reptilian.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Do you know what that is?
I just saw the cover. What is it? Is Batman a reptile now or something?
I have no idea what the story is about. All I know is Garth Ennis and Liam Sharp, fresh off his Green Lantern run with Grant Morrison, is doing this. You don't like Batman books?
No, I like Batman. I was just trying to figure out if that's like Killer Croc attacking Batman, or if
I was kind of guessing, but maybe it's like a contagion situation or something.
I
can only imagine.
He's turning into a bat lizard.
You can do a lot of things with Batman. They're going to make sure you know that they're doing everything they can with Batman. He has.
They just do 8 Batman books a week.
Yeah, they do. Batman with this, Fortnite. Batman, this miniseries. There's Batman the Detective by Tom Taylor and Andy Kubert. There's Legends of the Dark Knight again. There's Batman Superman. That's coming to a close, but there's Batman the Adventures continues. Batman Adventures continues. On and on and on.
Super Sons. Damian's still Robin, right? At this point,
Damian is still Robin, as far as I know.
And this one's actually, I know. What is that? Does the black label mean Batman gets his dick out, or is that not?
You know as well as
not
I
this
do.
Week. Oh, okay.
Batman's wang is forever sheathed.
Yeah.
As is, he doesn't have a wicked tongue either. I know it's late to the party saying this kind of stuff.
No bat head.
Yeah. Although there's been plenty of representations of it out there on the internet. If you want to see how he treats his women.
You can find any bat porn that you could possibly think of.
That's right. Yeah, well,
there's probably more Batman Robin porn than there is Batman Catwoman porn.
I hope Robin is of age. Okay?
Yeah, we're talking college age.
We're talking college age dick. Right. Okay. All right.
College age dick, yeah.
I said we're not going to talk about Warren Ellis right now, so stop.
He likes his college dick.
Vinyl comes out probably Thursday, everybody. Image comic. That's the only thing I know about it. It looks like murder and records are involved.
It's Matt Wagner. Is that
I doubt it.
Is that
I
Cameron
doubt.
Stewart?
Now that it might be.
Because we were just talking about Cameron Stewart. And
all right, well, you know what? I'll find out right now.
I thought he got canceled over some, fake scandal or something, but I couldn't.
Well, I don't think it's a fake one. All right, so one of the YouTube channels that I watch and sometimes am a participator of is Comics by Perch. And Perch is a guy that has owned a store in the past a few times. He's about opening up another one, and his channel is all about kind of just, hey, this is the comic business, and these are people in the comic business, and these are things that people talk about outside and in the comic business, just about comics and everything. And sometimes when it's, probably weighing on him, he might bring up, some sort of like ridiculous stuff that's going on as far as behavior in the industry, and you can hear his frustration. So he had a video, and he said it's been about a year since the last time everybody has got in trouble in comic books for sexual or perceived indiscretions, in the very least. And have we learned anything?
Stewart.
Pardon me?
This comic is Dave Stewart. I just looked it up.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was just looking it up. Good. Okay. I can't talk and do it at the same time.
So, I was just letting you know. But yeah,
so glad you did that.
Sorry, go on.
No. So, it's been a year since that Cameron Stewart and the whole Warren Ellis thing and all the other guys. And we were all locked up in quarantine. Obviously, people were sharing stories, and it was getting around. It wasn't just in there. I was involved in a little wrestling podcast for a while, and during that time, there was a whole bunch of people getting in trouble for things, however artfully or inartfully you want to say it. Men and women not getting along properly, probably men mostly.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. It comes in a big wave, and then once there's a big one like Warren Ellis, and then everybody else they all want to join in on the witch hunt, and they all want to find some, like, oh, I got one. What about this guy? What about this guy? Oh, I saw that guy date a girl that was 5 years younger than him. Right. And they all, so that's when I start rolling my eyes, is that it's not about particular thing. It's just about everybody's like on a witch hunt to find, we got to get all the bad guys out.
Right. Here are two great people in comics that I've never heard anything bad about. Louise and Walter Simonson. Yeah. They're doing X-Men Legends #4. This is picking up after their X Factor. Well, actually, it was Louise doing it. Walt drew the early issues, Apocalypse and stuff like that. These were, oh my gosh, these are probably around the time when Whilce Portacio was an artist on X Factor, probably right around this time. I guessed last time it was like 44 or 45. It was right around there. I was not wrong. I never crowed about it, but here we are.
What's his name again? His name is Whilce.
His name is Whilce Portacio. In fact, you know what? There you go. I'm gonna do it right now.
I know you wanted me to say that.
His name is Whilce Portacio.
Ooh, let me have some of that Cool Whip. What'd you say? You can't have a pie without Cool Whip. Cool Whip? Cool Whip, yeah. You mean Cool Whip? Yeah, Cool Whip. Cool Whip. Cool Whip. Cool Whip. Cool Whip. You're saying it weird. Why are you putting so much emphasis on the H?
Jeff, who's sometimes on this show, when we would hang out, when the comic store was right next to Half Price Books, and he'd come over for lunch, if we, for some reason, had Whilce Portacio's name come up, that was a thing that I did. And you were having the same issue with the name as many people I've heard have, and it's like questioning whether or not they're saying it right. That's the only problem. Are you saying it right? Who cares?
I don't think I ever thought about it until today, and I was trying to think, like, do I know the Image 7? And I realized, okay, I have no idea how to say that guy's name because I've only read it. I never say it. But yeah, I used to work. I used to work with Jeff at Half Price Books, right?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. He said only great things about you.
I'm sure he probably said, I was a terrible employee.
He's never said anything bad though.
Oh.
Jeff's a good guy. If you didn't cover your shift, he might have said something about you.
All I know is that I quit, and then like a year later, I applied again, and they elected not to rehire me. I wasn't given a reason, but that's all I can tell you.
Always going to be Will Pistachio. Pistachio.
Pastasio?
Pistachio. Or pistachio even. Will's Pistachio. I like it all, and it's all great. We're going to talk about Image 7 in a few minutes. We're going to have an unboxing in 4 minutes, 3 minutes, 3.5 minutes. Here it is right here. I got an Amazon package right here. I started it to make sure I wouldn't be able to,
It's not a box, though.
It's not. It's an unbagging, really.
Okay. It's an unenveloping.
Yeah, it's an enveloping. Okay, so let me go through these really quick. But I should just do the ones that are only going to be out. But this is for Thursday also, everybody. Really quick, Black Hammer is coming back with Jeff Lemire and Caitlin Yarsky writing it with him.
It's more Dave Stewart.
Or maybe that's the artist. Caitlin Yarsky is the artist. Dave Stewart is from the Eurythmics and is also a fantastic colorist. Heroes Return. For 7 straight weeks, we've had Heroes Reborn. Finally, the heroes have come back, and I hope they're going to kick Coulson's ass. Let's see it. Stray Dogs, number 5. If you're not on the Stray Dogs bandwagon, for shame. They do horror movie variants, and I get one of them. So you got to come in quick if you want the other. Plus, there's reprints, and I got a bunch of those. And it's really good. I hate the when this meets this. But I've been watching a lot of Hannibal lately. So Hannibal meets Disney, or Disney meets, some horrible killer person.
How far along on Hannibal are you?
I'm done.
Oh, okay.
You want to have a Hannibal episode?
We could talk about Hannibal.
Oh, yeah, we got Jill in this one, too. That ending. That 3rd season was rough, I feel. But
I hate the 3rd season.
The 3rd season. Bullshit.
I really liked it around season 2. I thought they did a really good job with Mason Verger, but I'm going to take you off topic.
The actors are amazing. And the thing is the one I like the most is the guy who plays Chilton. He sounds like audibly, just like the Chilton from the movie. His mannerisms and just speech alone is perfect. And I thought he didn't overdo it. He was just really good. This is Infinite Frontier, a 6-issue miniseries by Joshua Williamson. I think he's really good. And Harmonico. He's the artist from a Grant Morrison Green Lantern miniseries in between season 1 and 2. Spawn's Universe. You ready for this?
Uh-oh.
Tom McFarlane, we'll be talking about him in a few minutes, is really taking his Spawn penis and ejaculating all over the comic book industry with it. And it's going to start with Spawn's Universe right here. Boom.
This is the first one of his new. Then it's King Spawn, I think, is the next.
Yeah, King Spawn, everybody.
How does Spawn sell for you?
Not very well. Very. Spawn always sells, and that's a slogan of mine right there.
I'm questioning why he's doing like 4 new comics for. I feel like nobody reads Spawn, but
yeah, well, people do. They ramp up when the anniversary issues are coming up.
Yeah,
and then they fall apart, not fall apart. And then some people stick on for a while and then kind of stop, and then there's the frenzy again. Spider-Man's coming out. I'm going to stop right after this one. Beckstar number 2 will be coming out on Thursday. That's by writer Joe Carallo, friend of the show. We sold out of the first one. We still have our reorders that we got the last time. We still have copies of X-Star #1 first print. Second print is coming, but you don't have to wait. You can get it with us. Okay. I guess I should make myself big. Sorry about that. All right, here we go. Oh, wait, do I have an unboxing banner? No, I don't think I do. We'll do that in a sec. All right, here's the unboxing. I got an amazing Yamaguchi Revoltech Amazing Spider-Man. And I think it is the real one. So I'm okay. You can see because it's all wrapped up in there. And it has like really good like articulation so that you can do extreme poses. Like that one right there with him swinging. Pretty classic looking. And of course there's different heads with different eyes and all that, or different eyes to put in the head. Pretty sweet. These were sold out from the store that I had been watching it on for like the last 3 weeks. They had him.
How much did it set you back?
Oh, switch it back.
No, I said, how much did it set you back?
Oh, how much did it set me back? It was just under $100. That's the reason why I didn't get it initially, and then it sold out from that store. And then I said, "Oh damn, oh damn, I better go look for it." Now, if you go on eBay, you'll see people that have like $35 versions of this, along with all the advertisement, just like you see in this right here. So I watched online, but it's $30. I guess it's coming from China though, and it's not as good. So
is it a 6-inch scale or
yeah, it's like 6.35, I think it was, or something like that.
Okay.
But it's pretty sweet. Spidey, I have Rick here. I had a few things I wanted to talk about that I thought would interest him. And one of them obviously is Spider-Man, because as he said, we are doing he's doing a rereading of Spider-Man. How far along are you right now?
Issue 223 of Amazing is the last. Right at the end of Denny O'Neil before Roger Stern comes in.
So you've read Amazing Fantasy all the way through, including annuals?
Yeah, I've been reading the omnibus versions or the Masterworks when I don't have the omnibus. So they have the annuals and a few of the crossovers, not everything, but random crossovers when they're necessary. And then I started reading Spectacular also.
Oh yeah, so there's if you can believe it, there wasn't another Spider-Man title, unless you count, I guess, like Marvel Tales or
Marvel Team Up.
Team
Up.
Up.
Have you read I've never read the old Marvel Team Up, but it seems to me like it's just kind of like it's just the fight scenes, like all the sort of soap opera stuff is in the main book, right?
Yeah, you're not going to get too much main continuity when it comes to that, although sometimes something that's dealing with a character either in the book or Spidey will get brought up. Mm-hmm. So they do try and kind of keep it in there, but overall, you could read these stories pretty much at any time. You're going to know that it's like Pete's college years, you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
I noticed once in a while stuff like, Sandman would show up with the new costume, and then the footnote would say that he got the costume in Marvel Team Up or something.
Right.
But so far I've mostly just read them, but I know, as it gets on that you have to read everything with all the crossovers. Once it gets to the Alien Costume Saga, I'm going to be reading Web of Spider-Man and Spectacular. I'm going to try to do it all. Yeah.
They're all right. I mean, Peter Parker, I was telling you this a couple weeks ago that I found that in my collection, I was sometimes not getting Amazing Spider-Man, but what I would rather read is Peter Parker Spider-Man, mm-hmm. or Spectacular Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. And it's weird that I would have like a large bunch of those rather than the main book. But yeah. I don't know. My reading was scattershot when it came to stuff like that a lot of times.
when I started reading, Spectacular Spider-Man was in the 100s and Amazing was in the 300s, and I liked Spectacular better. I would get that more regularly than Amazing.
Mhm.
I like Sal Buscema, and I the storylines in Amazing aren't that great for a while there. You know, it gets kind of crappy with the
I
parents
didn't
coming back and stuff.
really enjoy. I was more of a Gwen Stacy guy. If I was gonna, I'd rather just Pete be a bachelor, you know, kind of being a loser, more than married and like having a kid eventually. You know, that's like weird. You
But you
know.
preferred Gwen Stacy. Well,
Well, I
yeah.
mean, it was in his youth, so it's possible that that's what I like most about Spider-Man during the time you're reading right now. A lot, you know.
It's yeah, because well, like we were talking about, I read a lot of this stuff over the years as individual issues and whatever, but reading it all in order is really for one, it's weird when you read it all in order and you get to the Gwen Stacy's death, because up until that point, I didn't feel much of a connection between them as a couple, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I always read about it in retrospect when Spider, you know, when he's always going on and on and on about.
He does. He pines about Gwen Stacy all the time.
That's
he
how
got
I knew
this piece over here, Mary Jane, and
yeah, that's how I knew the Gwen Stacy death was from Peter Parker going on for 30 years about the great love of his life that was murdered and all this. But when you read it in order, it's like she doesn't seem like the great love of his life. She's kind of a girlfriend, and she's usually really upset at him because he keeps disappearing all the time, and he won't tell her that he's Spider-Man, and you know. And so when she dies, it's kind of the actual death issue is really good, but up until then, they hardly feel like a couple. They're breaking up like every 3 issues, and then
Pete's got a lot on his mind, and you know, it has a lot to do with like her father being involved also during that time.
Yeah, I thought that was weird too, because it seems like a big reason they stayed together is because Captain Stacy likes Peter. And so I think Gwen's kind of got like this weird daddy thing where like, oh, well, dad likes this boy. So Peter keeps just like every 2 issues, Peter disappoints her. She's crying. She wants to break up with him. And then she always takes Peter back, even though nothing's been resolved. But there's all these scenes with like Peter and her dad are best friends. So it's really, it didn't feel like a healthy kind of.
Have you ever read Spider-Man during the J. Michael Straczynski run, JMS?
I read all of that back when it came out.
You know that whole original sins with Gwen Stacy going over to France and giving Norman the old pity fuck. That actually kind of plays in with how you described all that, you know, with her father kind of setting Pete up with her and you know, her fixations.
That's why I want to keep going with the.
I don't want to believe that though. That's wrong.
But I think once I get to those issues in the reading everything in order, I think they're going to be very different. So that's why I kind of want to. I'm having to power through certain eras that aren't that great, but I'm trying to get all the way up to the 500s.
Can I hold on just 1 second? For you, Murder That Guy, I'm assuming you're talking about that action figure. Very interested to see what the appeal of items like that are. The fact that I might not be able to get it again, and I really wanted it, was the thing that made me want it more, and you know, that needed it. As far as the attraction, the posability, something I'm probably not going to use too often, truthfully. I'm going to have to keep the box, unfortunately, because of all the little pieces. Although, you know, actually, I keep a lot of stuff in like little drawers, my little action figure knickknacks.
You open them, don't you?
Oh, yeah. Not always. So lining the top over here are my Jack Kirby Fourth World action figures that I got from when I worked at Comic Relief. It's all these action figures in the style of a Jack Kirby drawing, and they're all Fourth World and Superman. So it's like, how can you not have that? There are things in the garage that haven't been opened, and there's things in the garage that have been opened, and they're in a bag now, or in the box over here, or on a shelf over here. But I try not to always have too many, and a lot of what I have was like given to me. But the things that I really want are not so numerous usually. So I don't go as overboard as some people. You can't have comics also, or magic cards also, or what else do we have?
I do. That's my problem.
Novels.
I can't pick one thing. Is I do the comics and the figures and the magic cards and.
That's why Marvel Team Up is great. 50-cent dollar books. Well, 50-cent dollar books, usually from like the 70s and 80s, are a good deal. Even if there is a little bit of mildew. Ugh. Damn, I'm sorry that you missed the notification. From what I understand, if you unnotify and then notify again, maybe. It's certainly not because I'm posting too much stuff. Posability. I see. I prefer comics because you can read them. Yeah, sure. But, this guy I can put him on the refrigerator because of the magnet, and I can have him crawling up. We used to have, back in the old days, Jill and I at our Ashby house that we lived in, we had Batman. Here's one for you: Batman and Robin, Adam West, and Brute. What's his name? What's Robin's name? Dick Ward. Dick.
You mean Burt Ward?
Burt Ward. Adam West and Burt Ward action figures of Batman 66 on our refrigerator. Those were good times.
I've got this sideshow Robin 66, the $200 one. I love that guy.
Yeah, awesome. A friend of mine in high school, his mom said she dated Burt Ward for like a minute. There you go.
Yeah, wow.
I heard things about him.
Did you hear about his memoir? He claims he had like hundreds of girlfriends. I don't know that he was actually that big of a celebrity from doing 3 seasons of a Batman show.
He might not have been that big a celebrity, but I heard something was big from her. But of course, I mean, it's either going to be really small or really big,
Well, you can see on the Blu-ray now that they've done an HD scan of the original show. It's
really
pretty
He's tying
visible.
around like a belt.
Well, it's nothing like that, but you can see if you're curious in the HD remaster.
It's nothing like Jack Tripper hanging out on an episode of Three's Company, right? Have you heard of that one?
I haven't.
Have you seen that?
No.
I don't think it's easy to see anymore, but
well, yeah, when they're remastering a lot of these shows for HD, you're seeing a lot more than you were ever intended to see on the old TVs.
That's right. So back to Spidey.
Sure.
So you started with Amazing Fantasy. How do you feel? Let's really quickly. How would you rank? Not rank. How do you feel about Steve Ditko and Stan Lee's Spider-Man run? I mean, is it up there? Is it? I don't even know what I'm trying to say.
No,
what are you trying to say? How do you feel about it?
I'm not trying to say anything. You're asking me a question.
It's awesome, right?
No,
it's how awesome it is.
What's really impressive when you read it all in order is that Steve Ditko in like the first 20 issues, he makes like 10 in a row all-time great bad guys that we still use the same bad guys today, and they still have the same costume and everything. And then you look at something like the Marv Wolfman run or the Denny O'Neil run, and they're like desperately trying to introduce new bad guys, and they do one after another that suck ass. And we're getting like a Stegron and Lightmaster and shit,
How
and
dare
so
you?
when I read them all in order, that's really impressive to me. That Steve Ditko, I mean, those early comics are really rough, and there's they're very kind of primitive, but yeah, he just like one after another classic characters, like 2-3 classic characters an issue, and that's pretty amazing.
I mean, not to like make it sound like other people are better or worse or anything like that, but it seemed like Marvel in those early days, they were really they were putting forth a lot of really cool characters. You can see like in Fantastic Four even.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, they were still doing it by issue 50. Jack Kirby and Stan Lee. Definitely in the order I put it.
Yeah, I'm doing a Fantastic Four reread too, but that one's a lot simpler than Spider-Man because they never had 4 Fantastic Four books in a month like they do with Spider-Man. So
you're gonna do you have a certain length or like distance you're trying to get to, or you're just gonna read it all?
Spider-Man, I'm trying to get all the way up through the end of the Dan Slott through like issue 800.
All right.
I'm trying because after Dan Slott, a lot of times instead of doing 3 different Spider-Man comics, they were just doing 3 issues of Amazing. So it's a lot. I think it gets a lot easier to read. A lot of that stuff I already read. So
LK says, Rick, make sure to read the very special Spider-Man Power Pack one shot. That was yeah, that's the one where Pete has an uncle that's trying to do the whole different strokes on him episode. Yeah.
Really?
Would you like to play some video games?
Yeah, there's a lot of the one-shots and miniseries that I'm going to be skipping.
So none of that at the Canada or Texas Fair one or anything like that?
Probably, yeah. The highlight of the Wolfman Spider-Man run was, yeah, he brought in Black Cat. But even that, I mean, you think like, okay, Wolfman's run, he brings in like maybe one or two characters that stick, you know, whereas Steve Ditko was bringing in like, you know, 2 characters an issue that became permanent. So that's you know,
he had starting out in an infant, you know, kind of like the infancy of superheroes, definitely the infancy of Silver Age superheroes, right?
Yeah, that's true too.
You had a lot to work with, a lot you could steal from also that a lot of people might not have known.
Yeah, it was an open field. There wasn't competing with past characters as much. That's true. Yeah. But
I mean, oh damn, I can't do it. It sure would be nice to be able to do a Scorpion. Now I got to look for like some. Thankfully, the Amazon's still producing some animals.
Yeah, that's why eventually you get down to, oh, we already have a spider. Let's do a tarantula and a beetle.
Yeah. And, have you ever noticed that all of your villains are totems for other, you know, for animals?
Yeah.
Have you?
And Madam Web.
Tying it all together. That's right. Did you read Dan Slott's run?
When it was coming out, I read most of I would come and go. There's a couple of years I missed, but mostly I read Dan Slott's run. So that was kind of, when I get there in the reread, I'll see if I want to read it all again, because I kind of know that. I did sort of read that in order. But I did. So one thing I always liked about Dan Slott was that it felt to me like he really used the history of the character, and he would bring in all the old supporting cast and everything. And I when I go into his book, it'd be like, oh, there's, you know, Norman and Harry Osborn and Liz and their kid, you know, and all the supporting characters that I remember from whenever I started reading Spider-Man. So it would be interesting, I think, to see it in context after the reread of all the early kind of stuff.
There was before he got on Spider-Man, Dan Slott did the Spider-Man Human Torch miniseries called, I think they, on the trade paperback, they called it I'm With Stupid. And it was like moments in Spider-Man or Torch's life when the other person was there, and the story around that for a whole issue. So like the first Spider Buggy issue, you know, and
Spider Buggy.
And so the Human Torch is all comedy for the most part, really tying into the history of those 2 characters. I thought he did a pretty good job on the regular series, but that one that's like, I'll read a Dan Slott comic still based on that, and probably She-Hulk at the time. I had a buddy, he hates Dan Slott, and I've seen other people for a multitude of reasons hate Dan Slott and his Spider-Man run. But you're okay with it? It was pretty good.
I really liked his Spider-Man run as it was happening, because since I'd read Spider-Man since the 90s, I appreciated that he was using like the old supporting cast and like sort of the obscure continuity stuff.
I know you kind of said that. Maybe I'm asking it twice.
No. But I was going to say, but I also liked that he was going to do different stuff. I really liked this Superior Spider-Man. You know, I liked that he was shaking it up and doing different stuff. I think people don't like him more because his Twitter persona is obnoxious.
I've heard that's I mean, the thing is, like, someone has a problem with, you know, his Spider-Man, and then they approach him for it. Oh, I should have that down. And they approach him, and you know, fans can be hostile, or, you know, oblivious to the fact that, you know, maybe they're just not they're not saying something that, you know, in a way that someone wants to hear it. Right. And he can be a little weird about it too.
Yeah, he'll like get into fights with random fans, or he'll block them. And
I'm being nice about the whole thing.
Oh yeah, it's like, dude, just ignore him. Just ignore him. Don't you just, Yeah.
I don't know why people really hated the run. I mean, I know there's been moments where, oh, Pete did this stupid stuff, being like, Iron Man, when he was owning the company, and how he shut everything down. And, and then he was like living on the couch of, I can't remember, Mockingbird or something like that, and she was like treating him like a doofus and everything. But doesn't that play with Pete's character? I mean, he is kind of a doofus sometimes.
And reading it all in order, it makes me, if you read the first Ditko issues, like Peter Parker grows up and gets out of high school pretty fast. He's only in high school for like a couple of years at the beginning of the book, and there's like a sense of momentum. He's getting older, and then he gets his own apartment, and Aunt May moves in with Mary Jane's aunt, Watson. What's her name? Anyway, but there's a sense of soap opera and momentum, and Peter's growing up and he's getting an apartment. He's getting new friends, and then he gets to college, and it just kind of like suddenly he's in college for like 210 issues. It just kind of like screeches to a halt. So I appreciate him wanting to move things forward, even if then it all gets undone right after, of course. But
okay, so let's tie this up nicely so we can talk about the Image 7. What era of Spider-Man, whether you've read it, or what you're looking forward to, or what you've already read, what do you think is your favorite time period, do you think? When does it have it all for you?
What I'm looking forward to is kind of the main reason I'm doing the reread is it's not because I actually think it's good, but the whole Clone Saga era, when I was a kid, like in 93, 94, and I had only been reading comics for a couple of years, and the whole Clone Saga shit started to happen in the mid 90s. And at the time, I remember like I couldn't afford all the books and I couldn't find all the books, so I'd read bits and pieces of them out of order, and I had never read the original Clone Saga with the Jackal and the thing back like in issue 140, and so I had no idea what the history was, and I could never get all the issues. I could only get like bits and pieces of the story, and so as a kid I was constantly like trying to figure out what the fuck all this nonsense was, and but I would have like sold my arm to get every single issue because I was fascinated by it. And so when a couple of years ago they started doing like omnibuses of the complete Clone Saga with everything in there all in order, that was what kind of got me on my buying Spider-Man collected editions, because I was just that just something like the 12-year-old in my brain, it just lit a little fire, like holy shit, it's a hardcover book and it's 1,300 pages and it has every single Clone Saga, and I had is my child brain was like obsessed with that. So that I'm looking forward to reading that, even though I know it's going to be a nightmare of stupidity. But
yeah, I got out around that time.
Yeah,
there was a few stories prior to that got me out of Spider-Man for a long time.
Yeah, before that they were doing the shit with his parents and all the
yeah. And there was one story in particular called The Shrieking.
Yeah.
And I was like,
this year they're doing an epic collection of the Shrieking era. That whole thing is going to be an epic collection.
This is a great lead into Image comic books because it was during the 90s, and there was a lot of other people in comic books, a lot of other companies that were trying to get darker and grittier within. You couldn't have Superman be Superman. He had to like die, and stuff like that. And I think a lot of that was, mostly because of Image comic books, for good or worse, right? So what I'd like to do is, and I don't know if I have a real numbering system. I'm going to turn off my camera during this time because I'm going to probably, I don't know, it's one of those things. So here, let me do it. Okay. So let me, I got a piece of paper right here. I'm going to write down, I'm going to just, and then at the end, maybe other people can tell me, or maybe during the, you can say where you think this person is, but let's go through the names and then go through our numbering. But maybe, as we're doing it, just kind of like tabulate, like I'm trying to make the case for all these people. All right.
I want to at least know your first place and last place. You don't have
Oh
to
yeah,
do,
okay.
you don't have to
Yeah.
do a detailed ranking.
Yeah. Okay, sounds good. Let me see. Ranking our betters. No, we don't need that up anymore. Let me put this up because I always forget to do it. No, I won't forget to do it. I promise I won't forget to do it. So we'll put this one up instead. Yule's fave channels in no particular order. Okay, here we go. Share screen. I gotta say it while I'm doing it though. First up, Eric Larson. What do you know about Eric Larson, dude?
Eric Larson, out of the original Image guys, I have a lot of respect for him because, they all made the whole point of the thing was this big creator-owned comic, and we want to do our own comics where we write and draw, and it's ours, and we own everything. And Todd McFarlane wrote and drew Spawn for 7 issues before he started bringing in other people.
Oh yeah, totally. But it was it was because he was honoring those people, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, well, but I appreciate that Eric Larson has actually kept doing Savage Dragon himself. For what? Like, I don't know what issue they're on, but he's kept...
quite a few.
So he's done like 250 issues of Savage Dragon, and he just keeps doing it all himself. It's all, so I like that, but I don't actually read Savage Dragon.
Savage Dragon was... The problem is it was very much a style and kind of odes to things that he was already working on. So like there was a J. Jonah Jameson type character, in Savage Dragon. And I had seen it in like a lot of the books he had drawn. So that was kind of my problem with Dragon. Overall, it was a fun action book, and people that read it still like it. But it is sometimes a little pornographic. The one thing so I did art. I chose a couple pictures of things that these guys did before Image. And the thing about Eric Larson was he followed Todd McFarlane on Spider-Man, and here he followed Whilce Portacio on Punisher. And I thought that was pretty funny. I put Hulk in here because that was his dream to do Hulk. Instead, he did Savage Dragon, and here you go.
Yeah, so it's kind of his own off-brand Hulk. But
so have you ever read? Well, I mean, I feel that saying that would probably be a little insulting.
Yeah.
But go right on ahead. We're ranking them. So insult away.
I've read a few issues of Savage Dragon. I've read his stuff here and there. I just mean I'm not really whatever 250 issues they've done. I haven't read most of that. I'm not current.
Right.
But he's written and drawn all of it himself, right?
Oh yeah. He's had people do backup stories and things like that. But and other than miniseries, it's always been him writing and drawing it.
So yeah, I respect that. But it seems like out of all the guys, the Image guys, it seems like he's the one that does it because he likes making comics. This is what he likes to do.
There was a couple of great moments in Savage Dragon. In issue 171, he was at Fantastic Comics.
Oh wow!
Isn't that great?
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and there's a guy in a Fantastic Comic shirt and another guy.
How much did you pay him for that? He's got your...
I didn't have to pay him anything. He did that for free.
He's got your store name in there, like every panel.
In every panel, there's like 2 pages. Yeah, there's a little fight outside it also. I didn't get any ass kicking, and I asked. I said, "Dude, you couldn't have me just punch like one dude out?" I mean, that'd been awesome.
Oh, that's how he draws you. Is that?
Well, that's how he drew me. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that was his drawing. Okay.
I've done a beanie before. Well, the other one wasn't. It was like a blown up. Well, it was that, but I mean, look how peanutsy it is. He has his comic-y style is pretty comic-y. He even did like a whole issue where he was doing Savage Dragon in different comic strip style. So like one might be Mutt and Jeff, and one might be, one page might be Peanuts, and on and on and on. He does a lot of different things in the thing is like, this is a guy that learned how to draw by looking at comic books, and you can tell this. Mm-hmm. So it has a very it has a very independent, and that's what Image a little bit was also. We're doing stuff that we can't get away with at the main companies, and here you go. Boom. All right, next up. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
No, go ahead.
No. What were you gonna say?
I don't. Oh, I was going to say that I don't mind that they're kind of pornographic sometimes. I like that because it's still his and it's his creation, and if he wants to draw some tits, then go ahead, draw some tits.
For sure.
I think that's because it's not like like a corporate pandering to a certain kind of customer thing. It's because it's what he feels like drawing. So I say go ahead, draw some tits.
Well, all right, so we saw that Batman had a problem with his penis being out, and also the whole eating Catwoman out. And here we have a Savage Dragon issue. I didn't have the picture of it, unfortunately. I should have done this. I know we would talk about it. A Savage Dragon where he actually blew his girlfriend across the room when they were when he had orgasm.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. So that's like, wow, that's I don't know if I expected that ever when I first read Savage Dragon.
I don't know if I read that one, but I read some about a year ago. I thought I'd check in and see what a current Savage Dragon issue looks like. And so I don't know which issue I read, but I read one. And I that's why I commented on the pornographic part, because I remember like, wow, there's a ton of tits and cum in this comic.
There was a threesome in one, and like it was not what you'd see in a Batman comic. Jim Lee did Punisher War Journal. He also did Alpha Flight. Here it is. Oh yeah. Everybody knows his Uncanny X-Men.
Yeah.
And then his most important thing he ever did was he got them to kick Chris Claremont off X-Men. Yeah, there you go. And then he left so that he could do Wildcats. Woo!
Wildcats.
Wait a second. So I had the X-Men. Look at that. The X-Men. And now I got Wildcats. All right, very good.
I'm detecting Jim Lee isn't your number one out of these guys.
How dare you? Who's your favorite Wildcat? Have you read Wildcats before?
No.
Oh my God!
I can't read that nonsense.
So awesome! Oh
no,
my God!
No, I did when
it's so convoluted.
When they had that relaunch with Grant Morrison like 10 years ago. I think
you read the first issue?
Yeah, and then there was never an issue 2. I think that's the one
best Wildcats I ever read.
That's the only Wildcats I ever read.
Okay, so just making a case for Jim Lee, we've got Wildcats. From Wildcats, there was Stormwatch. He's had a lot of really cool creators working under him, like Brett Booth, Tom Rainey. Oh, look, Warren Ellis, Stormwatch, Authority, Warren Ellis, Brian Hitch, Promethea. That's another thing he did. He brought Alan Moore back to comics, a whole line of comics called America's Best Comics. And then Alan Moore has said he'd never work for DC ever again.
And then he sold America's Best too.
Jim Lee sold Wildstorm Studios, including America's Best Comics, to DC for seniorship.
That's a pretty big dick move, but
and then Alan Moore had to work for DC once again.
Yeah.
The only thing he kept from America's Best Comics was League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and there's a new trade of his book Tempest coming out soon. His very last comic work, including the very last Kevin O'Neill comic book work ever again. It's not wrestling. Who's this guy, this fine young fellow? Do you know who this is?
Mark Silvestri.
No, how dare you? This is Mark Silvestri. Might be one of the more beautiful men in comic book.
I would recognize it if I saw their drawings. I don't know.
This is Jim Valentino.
Oh, that's the one I forgot when I was listing. Yeah, I forgot that he was.
You did. Oh, I forgot. I wanted to see if you could get the Seven Dwarves. Oh well, it's okay.
I only named 6, and he was number 7.
And he was number 7. Jim Valentino, the off forgot. He did independent comics and was famous for Normal Man before he went on and this was for Cerebus Comics, Dave Sims' company.
Aardvark
Van Ham, yeah. And yeah, here's his stuff. And then he did Guardians of the Galaxy for Marvel, and I made fun of my friend George Pizarro for collecting this crap. Oh wait. That's it. See, I didn't even care to do any more pictures. I put the Normal Man in the wrong order, and there's Guardians of the Galaxy. I did know this guy that ran a comic book store. Actually, his wife ran a comic store. He used to work for Capitol, and he was drawn in this comic book as, I think, he was called Hollywood, and he had this like white beard, and I think he had a stogie, or maybe the real life guy did. And that's Wonder Man. Big deal. Okay, that's Jim Valentino for you.
Yeah, out of Image 7, that's the one who.
Oh wait, I didn't put. I didn't. I'm sorry, I don't have what his creation is. Did I not do his? Oh my god, hold on a sec. I got to see if I have it. Screwed that up. Screwed the pooch there, everybody. So he did Shadowhawk. Did I not have a Shadowhawk picture? I think I forgot to put it up. I done him raw. Sorry, guys. That's what happens when you have to do this at work. Anyway, Shadowhawk. Have you ever read Shadowhawk?
No.
Shadowhawk was all about a superhero who you didn't know who was under the mask. And it was like a mystery. And Valentino's art is kind of subpar, especially when you compare it to the other Image guys. Like this one right here, Mark Silvestri. All right, maybe not beautiful, but not an ugly man, right?
Well, Valentino's the one that I forgot his name, and so I have nothing smart to say about him. And then Silvestri's probably the one after that I know less about.
You know less about him?
Out of the 7?
Well, he was famous for doing Uncanny X-Men.
I didn't know he did X-Men for a while, but I don't think I...
Yeah, he had a long run on X-Men. He did the twice a month. I mean, before that he did... well, here's his Inferno stuff. Before that he did King Conan. Mm-hmm. Those were like those really thick magazine or thick 64 pagers. Here he's back on Inferno. Yeah, Marvel. I think it was getting. Look at this. This is great. You don't like this artwork? You just don't know it.
I don't know. No, I never liked it. He always bothered me. His figures look too I don't know, too rubbery. The legs are too long, and just as a kid, it always kind of bothered me. That's why out of the 7, he's the one that I never got any of his comics. When I'd see him show up in something, I just wasn't into it.
Right. I read a lot of X-Men during this time, and I know a lot of people that really like him. I personally felt that, like, all right, so you have Storm. You can see her hair is different. Same thing with Dazzler. Same thing with Madeline Pryor and Psylocke wearing a hood, and stuff like that. But I feel like if I didn't have those things there, I wouldn't know which character was which if it was in black and white, let's say. That's a lot of things that have to change from what is on the page. But like strip it away and, you could put anybody in each other's outfit and they pretty much, maybe Allison Dazzler looks a little bit more different. But I just never really liked his stuff all that much either.
They do all look really samey and everybody has the same body.
But he was getting 2 a month done for the whole freaking summer. And he did all the issues after it, before it also. And like I said, his Conan, I think this is like really nice stuff. But he also has a really good inker,
Their face is still kind of rubbery.
I hear you. Of course, he was younger here and didn't have the great Scott Williams inking him. This is his Cyberforce. All right, very good. Here's the Cyberforce. I do like his panel layouts. He does. He's a professional, and maybe more than even like Jim Lee and Jim Valentino. Mark Silvestri is probably the most professional guy of them all, which is sad that he wasn't able to get as much done as he did. You
Well,
know,
but and the fact
all
that
over
he's
the
doing
place.
them, that he's doing 2 a month is probably a part of the reason why I didn't like it, because you can see
Sure.
that it's the same reason I didn't like Mark Bagely when I was a little kid, because
Oh,
it just
yeah.
it starts to feel kind of just like crapped out, and it's just kind of you can tell that they're drawing 2.5 pages a day and that the inker's doing most of the work.
Sure thing.
I don't know. It just always it just never did it for me.
If you notice right here, this bum in the alleyway is Lord Emp from Wildcats. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, when they were trying to have the Image universe with the
Yeah,
crossovers.
they all exist. In Wildcats, there was Youngblood and Dan Quayle. Here's Ripclaw, another one of his really awesome creations. He's like a Native American mutant. They're all mutants, but they have like cybernetics put in them also.
Okay.
And he has claws. His name's Ripclaw.
Doesn't Wolverine have claws?
Yeah. This guy is awesome. His name's Stryker. He has 4 freaking arms, but 3 of them are on the same freaking side.
Okay.
I love this guy getting shot here. That's a typical Silvestri pose. All of this is so Silvestri. Look at this guy here. I thought the last panel was supposed to make you want to turn the page.
Pachow.
His creation, along with his brother, we had Strike Force. This is a much later version of it. Brandon Peterson did the first ones. Witchblade.
See, that's probably the other reason that I passed by his comics is, all the sexy ladies wearing nothing obviously doesn't do much for me. So I'm just like, yep, that's another,
Yeah, but this is the great Michael Turner and where he got his start.
Yeah, but
Tony Daniel kind of got his start with Top Cow also. Ed Benitez. This guy's good. He does that Lady Mechanica. I saw those pretty well. He draws very sexy women.
I don't understand all this like stuff that these little. I guess it's like a Spawn influence, right? That's just like sort of alien, like the HR Giger.
Yeah, kind of. If I remember correctly, the Darkness was a guy that when he after 21 spills his seed is like killed or something like that. And there's all these like mystic forces, and I didn't really care. But Garth Ennis, wrote it, so I know there's a lot of people that like the Darkness. There was a lot of people that liked Witchblade so much that they made a TV show for it.
But and Witchblade's costume is another thing like that. It's like a symbiote kind of suit thing.
I think it's just her arm piece, and it kind of goes over her shoulder.
It grows over
when
her.
She uses it. Yeah,
it just looks like somebody sort of threw up just enough vomit on her to cover up her genitals.
Yeah, I think this lady did a lot of coke, and it ended the show.
Yeah, it's really sexy, kind of.
Here's everybody's favorite. Boom!
See that guy's face.
Rob Liefeld is famous for having married one of three triplets. Yeah. Is that the right way to say it? There were triplets and he married one of them.
He married a triplet.
Yeah, there you go. He's also famous for the most important character since Wolverine in the Marvel Universe to date, Cable.
I thought you were going to say Deadpool.
No, but he did create that guy too. And even though this guy is probably a more financial success than Cable, he's not as important to the Marvel Universe as Cable. So you can suck it, Deadpool fans. This is a hard truth and a reality you're just going to have to face. Deadpool sucks. We've seen Bugs Bunny all these years. We don't need it anymore. And then he went and did Youngblood. Boom. Well, he also did X-Force, but boom. Have you ever read Youngblood?
I might have flipped through Youngblood. Actually,
there's nothing wrong with it. A lot of really good people went and did issues of like Youngblood Strike File. Chris Sprouse, Jay Lee, Rob Liefeld did a story.
Didn't Alan Moore wrote a story? I know
Alan Moore wrote a lot of stuff for Youngblood, and I'll be getting to some of that in a second. He also created Blood Wolf, which is a Lobo ripoff, and in fact, you can see Lobo. I shouldn't say ripoff, but it's the Lobo pastiche, I guess. Then he, while still working at Image, did Captain America, everybody's favorite Captain America.
Obviously, the best looking Captain America.
Obviously. During Youngblood, he created a ton of characters, including John Prophet.
Right.
Yeah. Bloodstrike. Dan Frega there, everybody. Rub the Blood. Eric Stevenson wrote this. So there's all sorts of people you can blackmail with for this. Later on, Keith Giffen will do issues. And, you know, I like Bloodstrike. I got into it because Michel Fiffe did a mini series not too long ago of Bloodstrike. And it really got me into wanting to read these 90s comics again. And in their own way, they try to be deep, even though it's a very superficial type of comic book. But in just a few panels, they portray a sense of horror that comics today need to, and I'm talking about Bloodstrike specifically because these are people that get brought back from the dead under this Operation Renewal organization or something. So like they have all this trauma, and there's like PTSD all the way back in these like really silly 90s, shoot 'em up comic books. And you don't have to have like 3 freaking issues, 6 issues, a whole series of Tom King issues dealing with it. These guys have to go back out and shoot fools up, and they do a really good job on it sometimes. And even like, in not Glory. Fresh off his awesome Wonder Woman run, Mike Diodato.
You're just talking about all his deep characterization and stories
exactly.
about PTSD.
Well, of course, I'm talking about. So that's the thing. Rob Liefeld's Deadpool is not awesome, and I'm sorry if Rob ever hears this. It is when Joe Kelly takes over, and I know you got plans and all that other stuff, and Fabian Nicieza and whatever. I don't care. If I have to read it, it isn't when Gail Simone's writing it. So those people out there that think that that's when it was cool, it was the Joe Kelly issues. Same thing with Cable. Those were the Fabian issues of X-Men where I started actually liking the character. And over the years, there have been really cool things like with Cable and Hope. So was it Rob Liefeld creating the characters? Yes. Was it the fact that these were like Marvel's characters and they could be nurtured and tweaked and prodded and made into something where, Rob's stuff is more like just a big old lump, kind of like this Glory right here. A big old lump.
He created the characters in that he was the first person to draw them, but he didn't actually create any of the things that people like about him.
Not really.
Characters.
Yeah, exactly.
But I will say about Rob Liefeld is I think I've told you this story that a long time ago I made a really mean post making fun of Rob Liefeld online, and because I never occurred to me that he would see it or that he would care, and he saw it and retweeted it, and he was really nice about it. He told me it was funny and he liked it, and I met him at a convention after that, and he was super friendly to me and chatted me about. He told me again he thought that I was funny and that he liked the drawing that I did that he saw, and so he was like a super sweet guy, and he was totally nice about me making fun of him on the internet. And so I have nothing personal against Rob Liefeld. I have no personal problem with Rob Liefeld. But that said, his drawing is just like nails on a chalkboard to me. It hurts me. It hurts my soul to look at his drawings. So
he has an eye for talent, and he can bring them on board a lot of times, like this book here.
Just before I, when I do say something really mean about him, just separating that I'm saying something about his art, not about the human being Rob Liefeld.
Well, the thing about Rob Liefeld's art, and I've often stated this, when I was trying to break into comics, the guy that was teaching me was saying, writers like to write too much. You need to move this book, and the page layout has to, move it. And I think he was like kind of souping it up and talking in a 90s kind of way. And I think Rob Liefeld epitomizes that. It's the reason why I like Keith Giffen so much, because there's Rob Liefeld out there. Todd McFarlane was never a great storyteller, I felt, on as far as like in-page work.
No, I don't
but
think any of
he
these
was
image
dynamic,
guys, I don't think any of these image guys are really great at telling stories. A lot of them are really good at pinup art.
Oh,
I think
sure.
that Rob Liefeld sucks at both.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know though. Sometimes his covers, like if I were to place them out against the super polished, awesome artists that came from school today, I don't know. I think Rob's still stand out better. It might not be great, but I think I could sell a New Mutants 98 again. You know what I mean? Maybe not, but I don't think I could sell a Rob Liefeld book like that now, but I could sell that one again. You know what I mean?
There's just all the, you know, the whole 90s with the gigantic mountain of muscles and the 500 pouches and the 500 guns and just all that shit. It just kind of, when I was a little kid and I was in a comic book shop and I would go in and have enough money to buy like 2 comics. That was the stuff that I would be like, okay, those are the ones that I skip right past. And then, you know, it was just completely, so I have like a visceral negativity towards it. Even if for what it is, maybe it's not that poorly done, you know, it's just something that I've never liked, that whole kind of deal. But I did love McFarlane. If we're going on to McFarlane, as a little kid, I was big into McFarlane.
So I didn't do any of his DC stuff. He did Infinity Incorporated. He did Coyote for Marvel's Epic line, I think it was. And here he is doing this Incredible Hulk classic cover, Peter David's run. This is a very expensive comic book for those of you out there. And if you want to sell them to Fantastic Comics, we will buy them from you. Don't go and get him slabbed. And then that's pretty much all he did. He got his own Spider-Man title, and then he left and did Spawn. Boom.
And his Spider-Man was really just kind of a dry run for his Spawn. I don't think he...
Sure thing. I mean, what he did with the webs, he pretty much did with the cape. You know,
that's what I was just talking to you about. I was rereading the complete collection they did of the McFarlane adjectiveless Spider-Man. And when I was a little kid, I thought that was the coolest thing ever. I just loved it. But and reading it now in the context of all the other Spider-Man, it's I don't know what it has to do with Spider-Man. It's not a Spider-Man comic, but I can still see where if you're a 12-year-old, that's like the coolest art. You know, he wanted to do a kind of a gothic horror comic, you know, he was just sort of using Spider-Man for that, I think.
In Spawn, he created the Violator. That's the clown. The other version of the Violator here.
Which I loved that too when I was a kid. I had the toy and everything.
Oh my God. Todd McFarlane got really popular, obviously with his art, but then he really influenced everything by his toys, and he promoted all that stuff when he started getting all the baseballs. And through the baseballs, this was during the summer of the Sammy Sosa, Mark McGuire home run of all time in the season chase thing. And he was buying these fools balls up like crazy. I think the one that finally broke the record, you know, I forget how much it was, but it was a lot. It was over $1 million. And everybody was like, this guy's just spending money on these balls. But then he did the toys. He did the sports action figures. And, you know, he did Spawn action figures. And I kind of call action figures, but most people, they're kind of inaction figures. And then he had movie licenses. And now he has a license. I mean, I wasn't really talking about stuff after the fact, but he even has a license to make DC's toys now. I mean, so the baseballs felt like it was a boondoggle or a guy just, you know, spending money on a Spawn mobile, you know, but he took it around to all these shows. People stood in line. They remember this stuff now when they probably forgot almost all the other comic book stuff they've ever, you know, read, if they ever read anything else.
I think the baseballs were they were actually a smart business decision, because he said before that he bought that one that was $1 million, right?
Yeah.
And then he said that some reporter was asking him, like, isn't that crazy to spend $1 million on a baseball? And he said, yeah, but the articles you're writing about it and the free publicity is worth more than $1 million. So, you know, that's what everybody was talking about it, and that's what he really wanted. Wasn't actually a bad decision.
No, not at all. Not at all. And here's where he started having other people come in and write his comic book for him. And this is, of course, a comic book that, oh man, held up a whole bunch of stuff for a long time.
Neil Gaiman.
Neil Gaiman's Angela character.
Yeah, the new Spawn compendium that McFarlane put out, it has this issue.
It does.
On the back, it lists like McFarlane teams up with amazing writers Frank Miller and Alan Moore, and he conspicuously doesn't mention the person who wrote issue number 9.
Oh damn! I never looked to see that one.
It's pretty
that's
funny.
Hilarious.
They list every other writer except for Gaiman, and he just skips right over that one.
Well, it's funny because here we had a situation where, did he create Spawn or Venom? Tom McFarlane. The symbiote was a black costume or puddle that got put on Spider-Man by Mike Zeck and Jim Shooter in Marvel Superhero Secret Wars #8, famous issue, which you can get on our website, fantasticcomics.com. He was like, no, I totally, co-created Spawn. If you want to, subscribe to the artist versus writer and who means more to what, you might even say he created all of Venom. But then, of course, those other guys created it. And then, it wasn't even a symbiote until, Web of Spider-Man #1, or no, that's not totally true, but, around that time. Who created what? And then here we have Neil Gaiman coming in, and obviously Tom McFarlane's the artist here, and he already created, the Malbolgia and all these other things. He just came in and basically did an angel version of his, demon characters, and you couldn't have one without the other. And that's what kind of Todd McFarlane was, stating. And it's kind of the same situation that Marvel was fighting against Neil Gaiman. I think that's a hilarious situation, right?
That's kind of the beef I have with McFarlane is he went really fast from creator owned to becoming what Marvel was, where he's like kind of the studio and he's hiring all these other people to make the comics for him. Mm-hmm. And that kind of bit him with Angela, because he was doing that exact thing. Is he was still trying to be sort of the creator auteur of Spawn, but he was hiring these other writers to make some of the most important characters. Yeah. I mean, and he he created Venom like how Liefeld created Deadpool. I mean, all McFarlane really did was they had already made the black Spider-Man costume and the symbiote, and McFarlane just sort of put teeth onto it. I mean, he didn't write the story. He didn't create didn't create Eddie Brock. All he did was the visual design, and the visual design was he just took the black suit and put a mouth on it. Right. So, yeah, that's kind of that's where out of all these guys, I probably like his art the best. But I kind of I don't know. He just, as a little kid, I remember reading all the stuff about Image and we're going to be creator owned and we're sticking it to the big companies and we're like this scrappy little people and the creators own the comics that they make, And then Todd McFarlane by like issue 8 of Spawn is immediately he's not writing Spawn. And I just, as a little kid, I was kind of indignant about that. I was like, this guy's a whore,
Oh, sure.
Because I felt kind of betrayed, like in a 9-year-old kind of way, that he was,
But I gotta say, as a guy that was trying to break into comics, that was nice that he wasn't going to be. Maybe the other people are going to be doing the same thing, and hopefully that studio can open up or whatever. Less so than you would hope, but if you get in, you can get in. Yeah.
No, I think overall, Image Comics has been a really good thing for creators' rights in the industry, of course.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's definitely given. So the thing is like Image started with these big guys leaving a company because they were basically upset with not getting as much money. Let's just, really that's what it is. Not being able to do what they want and not getting as much money, and not owning it afterwards. Oh, we got to go to Will's really quick. But they all really quickly, with the exception of really Eric Larson, went into figuring out how to get like other people involved to put their stuff out, and it's just
Yeah.
It
They
just
all became
it's
businessmen, right?
they all
Businessmen.
you got to become businessmen or you can't move to that next level. That's the only
Yeah,
problem.
that was what I was saying about Eric Larson earlier. Is that I don't really read his work, but I appreciate him for that. Is that out of all those guys, he's kind of the one that
Yeah.
he's like, no, I'm doing this because I want to make comics. I'm not running a toy empire. I'm not, I'm not doing all this other shit. I want to make comic books.
Well, later on, it seemed like they started getting like guys with a little bit more indie cred, whether it was like a Sam Keith, but even later on, it was like, like the Jay Fabers and people like that having to tell a different story that wasn't out at the main companies. But now we're seeing like, again, really big names coming over to Image to apply their craft so that they can own their little piece.
Yeah.
Like Jeff Johns is over there right now. Actually, a lot of their big guys that they've come over with, or that are over there now are people that are not so loved in some of their companies that they're in right now. Jeff Johns and, like we were saying, Warren Ellis, but Image is giving those bad boys a home.
Well, that's good then. I mean,
last we have Whilce Portacio. He did Punisher. Oh, look at that. It's a signed copy. And he did Uncanny X-Men when Jim Lee started the new X-Men, the adjective list. Whilce and I think Scott Lobdell wrote this. And look, Art T-Bear did the inking. In the second issue that he did, they created Bishop. This is an undervalued comic book. It's a first appearance of a major character that hasn't had his time in movie form quite yet, or TV form, or whatever they're going to do. Definitely one to buy. And then he did Wetworks. And Wetworks was about like this military team that were, I don't know, they had this like gold, I guess it was like nanotechnology or something that healed them and gave them like shits. And I remember there were some vampires. What do you think about Whilce Portacio's art? I think I like it personally.
I think it's kind of a
too veiny.
Dumpster fire is what I was going to say.
I love he doesn't put, I mean, he does put a lot of junk in there, but I've always enjoyed his stuff.
Well, I do, as much as I don't like Rob Liefeld, I kind of feel like he innovated a lot of the style, sort of, and I feel like a lot of it's kind of copied from him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's strictly true, but I just kind of feel like at least Rob Liefeld, I think, is like, his drawings are heinously ugly, but I think at least for him, it's I think it's genuine. Like, that's what he likes. That's how he wants to draw,
Yeah.
Whereas with a lot of these other guys, I kind of feel like they started to all follow that style a few years later.
Yeah.
But
so this is the Image 7 right here. Boom. Whilce had to like leave and sell his stuff over to Jim Lee, the shark that he is. Jim Lee. I think it was because his sister had medical problems, and I don't remember how that story went. I don't think it was as bad as all that. Wow, there's a lot of people talking. How's it going, guys? Andy Dick should play anything. But I hope you were talking about Who's the Boss. Andy Dick as Angela would be great. But who would be Tony Danza? Who would be I don't remember what his name was. Who cares? Tony. I guess it was just Tony. Tony Danza can't play anybody that isn't Tony. Tony. No? Hello, is this on?
I was gonna just let you go with that because I don't know anything about Tony Danza.
You don't know Who's the Boss?
Gonna let you see how long it took you to run out of steam on that one. I have no idea anything.
All right, here we go. Sequential Geek says Whilce Portacio was such a cold douche to me I think you can spell douche out fine. It's okay. To me at the Michigan Comic Con in 2019. What did I do to you, man? I tried to was this was COVID very well known during this time?
2019.
December, some people knew.
Is the Michigan Comic Con in summer?
Maybe he's just like Howie Mandel, and you got to like do the fist bump instead.
I
just not at all. Got a personal space and all that. You know what I mean?
I never liked strangers touching me at conventions 15 years before COVID. So I like the, you know, a lot of the stuff the last year I've been like, I've been saying this forever. Why are strangers touching me? Why are you shouldn't get 6 feet within 6 feet of me anyway. Go away.
You know when I hated seeing people get touched the most was when wrestlers were fighting in the crowd, and number one, they're like sweaty and disgusting, right? You may be bloody. And they're going up and down the stairs in front of people, and they like have to put their hands on the good job. You. There's some wrestlers they'll like knock you out if you do that. I mean, it's very unprofessional to do that because you're in a fight with someone else. You know,
they should.
As far as hitting the full, that ain't unprofessional. You know, don't get seen. You know, it's not during the show. You don't do it.
I saw a Marilyn Manson concert once, and he like smashed a beer bottle and cut his hand with it, and then he was like rubbing the blood on his face, and it was such a, you know, it's like a stupid 12-year-old way to be edgy, like, oh, look at me in the blood, I'm a fucking douche from the 90s. But yeah, then he had cuts on his hands, and they were real cuts, and then he was like going out and touching the crowd and stuff, and I was like, that's fucking nasty. I don't want your hepatitis.
And hearing stories about him now, he might have had it.
Yeah, who knows what the fuck he had. the only reason I saw him is because I wanted to see Smashing Pumpkins, and it was a double bill, and he
that's a double dose of crazy dudes right there.
Well, Smashing Pumpkins,
it doesn't matter.
Musicians.
Billy Corgan's a goddamn genius. Okay,
well, you're a wrestling guy, and Billy Corgan's a big wrestling guy.
He that too, but I mean, no, seriously, I love Gish. One of my favorite albums of all time.
Oh yeah, Gish is a great record.
You know, USA there.
Yeah, no, I love it.
Really, you know, that's a great album, man.
I do like Pumpkins, yeah, but that was why I saw Marilyn Manson.
What do you think of Adore as an album? I like it personally,
yeah.
But they're kind of like techno-y kind of album or something.
If I really like an artist, I like all of it. I'm not like just into one album. So I stuck with Smashing Pumpkins all through his solo era and his Bad Poetry book and everything. I all that. So because when I was a kid in the 90s, that was like the first time I ever had a band that it was like, that's my band, like I'm the Pumpkins, you know, like that, I'm into the Pumpkins. Those, you know, what was your first band like in high school, or it was your first, like, you know, like you'd get a t-shirt for that band kind of band?
It's definitely the Smiths for sure.
Okay.
All the way.
That's a good one. That's a good
Morrissey. One. Anything with Morrissey on it. Like them better than Depeche Mode, and The Cure's okay, but it's the Smiths, and I will not ever care enough to badmouth Morrissey and say that he wasn't the important member of the Smiths. He's not even the bassist level. I don't even remember what Andy's last name was. He can fuck off, okay? It's Morrissey and Moore. Even alphabetically, it doesn't matter. Morrissey's first. I'll have none of it.
Well,
one of my pop finals right here is the Master Crooner.
You can still like Morrissey and admit that he's become a clown in the last few years.
Look, we get a little xenophobic the older we get sometimes. And I think some of what is just overly misquoted.
I think there's a little more than you can attribute to misquotes. But
listen, I don't think that he is going to get a fair, proper shake from all the outlets that talk about him right now. Okay.
I mean,
how's that?
I've thought that
I need you to do a video on it now.
I've thought Billy Corgan is an obnoxious human being for well over a decade, but I still listen to every single thing he does because those first albums will always just have such a place for me in my memories, you know. So he's put out, like, he's constantly putting out music. He's never stopped, and it's been a long, long time since he wrote a decent song, but I still listen to every single, when it comes out, I still listen to it 2 or 3 times on the first day. Try to find something in there that I go, oh, that one's not so bad,
Mm-hmm.
But
I just won't go to that length I'm so tired of having to not like some. Look, there are things that I don't appreciate about people, and it might, I might not want to read or listen to their stuff anymore. But I almost feel like I've gotten past that point, if only because it's everybody. Where do you draw the line?
yeah, no,
Keanu Reeves doesn't do everything.
I don't think Billy Corgan is obnoxious because I don't like his politics or something. I just think he's just kind of his personality, But it's if you're looking for artists that have never done anything bad or never had a stupid opinion, there aren't any. There is zero. And I think that I think what's happening now is a lot of people they would like a musician or they would like an artist, but they wouldn't know anything about the person's life. And now with the internet, you're seeing like what that person has for lunch, And so I think a lot of people, it's the first time that they're ever learning about the private lives of artists, and they're just really not educated enough about art history to know that they're humans. They're flawed. They all have big flaws, Everybody, your heart is always going to be broken if you want them to be a perfect person,
Yeah, and I'm not trying to equate what the thing is that what Warren Ellis is being accused of is interesting. And it's not like so cut and dry as someone who did something so, so obvious. He had side pieces on side pieces on side pieces. And then when they finally hooked up, he was finally able to hook up with a bunch of them, I assume, and not everybody was number one in that list. Oh, speaking of, I'm going to say Jim Lee was number one and Jim Valentino is actually number 7.
That's your ranking?
Oh. That's my ranking, yeah.
You seem so dismissive of Jim Lee.
I love Jim Lee. I can't help it.
But every time I bring up Jim Lee, whenever I mention Jim Lee to you, I always feel like I'm defending him, and you have a beef with him.
No, I think he did some dick shit, and he's a really awesome businessman, and I think he's a really good artist, especially when maybe like he inks himself.
Mm-hmm.
But he's worth a shit ton of money, and he'll never be poor. Probably.
I do think his art, he owes a lot to Scott Williams inks mostly everything he does, right?
Yeah, but it also gives him his look, and he has another style, at least a little bit, and he can be a little looser also. He doesn't always have to be so technical. Like his Deathblow stuff, even though it was like a Miller ripoff at the time, which you can't be a Miller ripoff without being like a Wally Wood or Craig Steen or whoever those black and white comic book artists are out there.
That's an interesting ranking because I think that out of all of them, I think that Jim Lee is the most skilled as an illustrator.
Yeah, I mean it's just liking, also.
But I think he's the best. He's the best technically. I think he's a little samey. He kind of draws X-Men and Batman the same way, but I think he's probably the most skilled out of all those guys. I feel like he's maybe not the most innovative or anything, but
they might all not be either, though.
But but if you look like an X-Men running up to Jim Lee's X-Men, you can see where it was like, wow, this guy, it's like this is really good. Compare, it jumps out in like the line of. You always get like a line of sort of roughly equatable artists that are about the same level, and then like boom, you get a Frank Miller or McFarlane or somebody, and it like is kind of a shock because it looks so different. And I think Jim Lee was sort of that for X-Men for a moment.
Sure. Also, I mean, with just sales alone, and where he's taken his career afterwards, I think he's like he's the brightest star that's like lasted the longest. Liefeld is Liefeld. I might put him I probably put him number 3. How I go is Jim Lee, Todd McFarlane, Rob Liefeld, Eric. It's somewhere between. It might be a tie or on the same level with Top Cow. So Mark Silvestri and Eric Larson. Eric Larson probably gets the nod because he does all his stuff, but with understanding it's a company, and Top Cow, Witchblade, and video games, and a bunch of creators that are awesome that came from those studios. He's had a very important run and still is over at Top Cow. So it's somewhere there. And then it goes Wilson, Jim Valentino, unfortunately, for Wills.
Now I feel like we're being really mean to Valentino, but that's just
Valentino just never excited me, and his stuff is like his Normal Man is good for that kind of thing. It's underground or not underground, but independent, slave labor, that type of stuff. Right next to Johnny and the Homicidal Maniac is Normal Man, that type of thing. Well,
I like Johnny a lot better.
Yeah, so did a lot of people. But it's on that rack maybe. And maybe it sells to someone that likes Matt Howarth, or Furry Freak Brothers or something like that, but it's good, but who cares? I like a lot of stuff nobody gives a shit about.
You caught me with Valentino that I couldn't even recognize his picture, and I left out his name when I tried to name all 7. So he's obviously not somebody whose art has meant a lot to me. But he's also I've never read enough of it to have anything smart to say about him. So
he there's this book called Gloom Cookie that Slave Labor put out. And Valentino was talking about his company to us when we were working at Comic Relief, me and Tyler. And we're and it was so on Wednesday or Thursday, I think it was, it didn't used to be open to the public, and it was just vendors and people in the industry. And so we were walking around, we go by the Image booth, and Valentino's there, and he's talking to us, and he's talking about all the awesome books that they have coming out. And then one of them is going to be goth and all this other stuff. And he said, it's going to be like Glom Cookie. We got back afterwards and we thought that was just the funniest thing.
He doesn't seem like he fits. He doesn't fit with the Image guys because he's doing kind of like an indie underground kind of thing. But which should make me like him more because underground comics and Arkham and everything is more.
Yeah, but he did Shadowhawk, and I didn't have a picture, but he ripped the spines out of villains so that they couldn't be criminals again.
Yeah,
it's horrible.
He's never
horrible.
It's
and he's not that good an artist. Again, he's good for an Archie comic. He'll get that stuff done. But the fact that he was able to do as many issues of Guardians of the Galaxy and had the audacity to leave with those young upstarts and start a company, but he had I really downplayed it. Valentino had the connects to start a company up and knew the people to know the people. And originally they were in bed with Malibu, but I think partially because of Valentino's connections, they were able to get their be autonomous, if you will. So he was very instrumental, especially in the early days. And, the thing is Shadowline is Rat Queens came from there, and a whole bunch of other books that you may have read from Image Comics. But that's his imprint, and it's really just him betting on other people. So he's had a really good, Image career and had importance there, but overall, I don't think his comic book career is all that exciting. Especially,
so you think they brought him along more for his business connection than for his comic book output?
I think it helped for sure. How could it not? These guys probably turned around and said, "Holy shit, we were making this much money, and we were rock stars, and we're going to be rock stars, and who knows if this is going to work." And I don't know, because I mean, there's plenty of documentaries out there about how it really went down, but I know there's a lot of stories about how it went down also.
Well, they did either by design or luck. They got the hottest artists, but they also got about 4 or 5 of those people were really gifted businessmen, and Jim Lee and Todd McFarlane and everybody all figured out how to become multimillionaires. So that helped their little fledgling. It wasn't just purely the strength of what they drew. They were all really smart about how to set up their little business.
Those books sold hot. I was working at a store during that time.
Well, the early issues sold hot, but
for quite a while, but it took a long time for those to come out. Like Spawn would come out regularly.
Until about issue 19 or something was when it started to get really behind.
There was a few. They had that 25th issue where they had to like jump ahead and do some shenanigans there. And I think his didn't show up on time, if I'm not mistaken. It may have come out more close to where it was supposed to. It was something like that.
But if they weren't really good business people, that initial, they had the first couple of years where their comics sold great. But, like 5 years ago, before issue 300, what was Spawn selling? Like 8,000 copies or something?
Yeah, it was something like that.
Yeah.
And Savage Dragon doesn't sell that much. But at least I think the thing about McFarlane is with Spawn, I think he's fallen back in love. Kind of think of like a long relationship, right? And like there's a little lull where you're just doing the things to get that stuff by. But then you're like, oh, damn, you know what? I really, really love that person.
See, that's what
and I'm going to really put forth effort going forward. And I think that's what he's doing with Spawn again. And that's
what
cool.
I was going to ask you before is the new Spawn stuff. Does it seem to you like Todd suddenly has he's fallen in love with the character? He has a new burst of inspiration about the character, or does it seem like he's getting in his 60s? He only ever made one creation of his own, and now he's kind of like, I better cash in the chips. Because I could go either way, That he suddenly wants to, he's got like a TV show and a movie, and it's like he's going, I'm going to be 80 soon. I need to, it's time to wrap it up.
Well, I think he has kind of taken on this, like ever since the pandemic and the reality that comics aren't selling quite what they are. He went out and did that Kickstarter where he like did a figure and made like $2 million or something like that.
Yeah.
And, he has renewed interest and belief in his thing. And I think he feels that like Diamond is kind of sinking and he's going to make Spawn be the thing that's going to, prop up the boat, or the tent. Spawn's the tent pole of Image now. It's the tent pole of comic books that aren't Marvel and DC. At least he seems like he's doing. I mean, how can that not be fun, right? But he might lose interest really quick, also.
Well, he always loses interest so fast. But that's kind of what it felt like to me, was that like he did the Kickstarter and made $2 million off the toy, and I think he was kind of like, oh, there's all these people on the internet that are still going to give me money if I do more Spawn. Why am I doing one a month when I could be doing a $2 million toy? I don't know that it was just like he suddenly woke up last year and he's like, oh, I have so many stories to tell about Spawn. I don't think that was exactly what happened. But
maybe the greatest success story in Image was Eric Stevenson, and if not him, maybe a little guy by the name of Robert Kirkman. In fact, we can get rid of Will Spertasio and put Robert Kirkman back on that list, and I can vault him all the way to number 1 right now. How dare a writer be the most important person at Image? That smacks in all of what the Image creators were about.
Yeah, and it was called Image because that was kind of the whole point. It was like, boy, these guys sure can draw. Like,
and it's in black and white.
Yeah.
I mean, Walking Dead.
If you ever, like McFarlane's adjectiveless Spider-Man, like that was the first time he was trying to write comics for himself. And if you ever read it, it's like, it's submental. It's like a 12-year-old wrote it. But as a 12-year-old, that's why I loved it. And it's still, when I read it now, it's really, really fun. And there's a lot of nostalgia too, because he can kind of tap into that. If like the 12-year-olds reading comics could write the comics, they would write this,
Yeah, the thing is that I feel like every generation has this fight probably between writers of comic books and artists of comic books, and right now we've been seeing it a little bit lately. Recently, Nick Spencer is going to be off Spider-Man, and he is going to go do this thing for a company called Substack or something like that. And they really are, the emphasis is on writers, and artists are up in arms about this. You know how much time we put on this? You know, then they come out, they talk about internet piracy of comics. You know how much time we put into this comic book? You know, that type of stuff. And it's totally understandable. But during this time, writers versus artists, or how dare Todd McFarlane, how dare Mark Silvestri, and who the hell knows where his brother came from? Who the hell cares? Like, only Jim Valentino actually had the writing cred of all those other guys to actually be able to put a book out. And it's like, there was a lot of people, like Peter David obviously was very anti-Image. I don't think John Byrne was really into them, but of course he's a writer artist also. But you know, I see that happening right now again, at least social media, but it is between pros, you know, talking this way.
That's something that's been interesting with my Spider-Man reread, because, you know, there's all the controversy about what did Stan Lee do, who did Stan Lee steal credit from, and everything. But what's really apparent when you go through the issues in order is the eras are marked by the writer much more than they are by the artists. And the book changes a lot as soon as it goes from Stan Lee to Len Wein, or it goes from Marv Wolfman to Denny O'Neil. When the writer changes, the book changes a lot. And it seems like the artists are a lot more incidental than people, because back in the Silver Age stuff, people want to give all the credit to the artists because they're they say Stan Lee stole credit for everything. But I mean, there's a lot of his voice that survives in those comics. It's a very different book the minute he leaves, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And like Ross Andro, he stayed between Len Wein and like about 3 runs. Mm-hmm. But it never really felt like it was his book at all. It changes with the writers, for me, when I was rereading it anyway.
Mm-hmm. I find that too, especially it's very noticeable for me when Jerry Conway's writing it, because and he was young during this time, but it was very juvenile. not so Todd McFarlane bad, you know.
No, the Jerry Conway, it got really goofy. Some of that shit with Aunt
Even
May.
though I love the Gwen Stacy stuff, you know, he did some of my favorite issues, but
that's what's so funny reading it in order, because like the Gwen Stacy issue wants to be really emotional and really heavy, but like 2 issues before that, it's Aunt May inherits an island off the coast of Canada with a uranium mine, and they like nuke the island. And they never even say, how the hell did Aunt May inherit an island? Who gave Aunt May an island with a uranium mine? You know, it's like the wackiest shit that you ever read in your life. And then he's like, oh, and Gwen Stacy, you know, got whacked. Like, it's like 2 issues later. That's what's really interesting about reading them all in order, is to see like what follows, what it's on the heels of when they do something like that.
Right. Yeah, and also just before that, what was he like doing that whole Paris thing, like we were saying, right? Oh no, he was in Canada with the Hulk, if I'm not mistaken. Also,
yeah, he was in Canada. They were speaking French. That's why you thought Paris probably.
Oh, is that what it was? Yeah, I thought maybe he came back, left Gwen there. I can't remember how it
because
went.
Aunt May's the island Aunt May inherits is off the coast of Canada for some reason.
Oh, I see.
And then they nuke the whole island off the map, and for some, this is just like never mentioned again, that somebody just nuked the whole island in Canada.
And no radiation or anything
it's
like
in Canada.
that.
Nobody cares if a Canadian island gets nuked, you know. Yeah, and the radiation, it's like off the coast, right? Like you could see this island from the coast, and they just nuked it. Which they don't even explain. I don't think anybody had a nuclear device. It's just I think Jerry Conway thought like if you blow up your uranium mine, then that makes an atomic explosion or something. Mm-hmm. I'm sure I might have missed some explanations, because I was just like, I was starting to zone out during some of those issues because it just got so fucking wacky.
Oh, man, no, you were saying when like Light Ray or whatever his name is.
Light
and,
Master.
Light Master.
Yeah.
And who's the dude with the roller skates?
Rocket Racer, I think.
Oh, Rocket Racer. That stuff is not good.
No, it's really not.
The only stuff I like is when it's Peter Parker during that time for the most part. I mean, a fight's cool and swinging a Spidey, but I remember him in Peter Parker situations almost more than I do in Spider-Man situations, I feel.
Yeah. The bad guy, the soap opera can still be really good with him and the supporting cast, but the bad guys just get really forgettable for like 100 issues right there.
Yeah. So let's see. Anything else I need to talk to you about before I let you go? Before we leave? No, I don't think so.
I have nothing. There's nothing.
We've killed it on Spider-Man talk.
Yeah,
we killed it on the Image 7. Oh yeah, did you have any idea of like who you think is your favorite? Also, let's see here. Sequential Geek says no way. Stevenson has way more business savvy and skill than Kirkman. Stevenson is really good at getting those people to come on over. And Image has really changed its style and has an image that's different than it was back in the day. And although it still maintains a lot of it, creator-owned comic books, maybe working in the studio, maybe working with Kirkman. Again, Kirkman and all his stuff. Kirkman has, talk about business savvy. Kirkman can keep an artist quiet. And a whole year's worth of comics can be done by this person before it even comes out. And tell me a company or a person that's doing that for their employees. So they're probably paying them up front. You're getting your work done and you're getting paid for it. And knowing Kirkman, I don't know Kirkman, but from the stories I hear and assuming the way people are keeping quiet about all the projects that they do with him, it's probably better than most. Because I mean, the minute Donny Cates has something going on, he's like, well, it's probably not the minute of, it's probably way past that time. But he starts saying, oh, I got something I can tell you guys maybe like in a little while. It's like, wow. All right, I'm ready. But what is it? Are you a Donny Cates fan?
A little bit.
You're going to have to read.
I read his Venom stuff. He did Venom for right?
Or Absolute Carnage and King in Black and all that stuff.
Not Absolute Carnage. Wait, is it called Absolute Carnage? Oh, I thought you were talking about Maximum Carnage for a minute.
Not Maximum.
Yeah, I read a little bit of Absolute Carnage. A little bit. I was reading the Venom stuff.
It's pretty good. It's not the worst thing ever. It has a lot of spider in it, so it's all right.
I really liked at the end of the Dan Slott run when Norman Osborn got the Carnage symbiote, just because that was such a, like what I was saying, if you, when I was 12 years old, if you let me write the comics, I'd be like, what if we took the Carnage symbiote and we put it on the Green Goblin, And so that I like that idea just because that was totally,
Well, when I saw the reveal of the kid getting it, Normie.
Right. And I liked that too, because I
laughed so hard. It was funny.
I liked all that because when I was a little kid, I started reading Spectacular Spider-Man. It was all the stuff where Harry Osborn was a Green Goblin, and little Normie was like 4 years old, and Harry was raising him to hate Spider-Man. And so there were the little scenes in there where Normie would be like killing his Spider-Man action figure, and he'd be like, "Die, Spider-Man," And so there was always like sort of this vague hint that Normie might grow up to be the new supervillain or whatever. And so I like seeing, Normie with the Carnage symbiote and all that. That was just kind of, I don't know if I'd say it's good, but I thought it was entertaining,
Wait, let me see this. Is it? Oh, wait. Here we go. What a ripoff. I agree. That is a ripoff. A 12-cent book for $25. Is it to Gross advantage, Gary Gross advantage, that there are no other fringe or indie publishers? I don't know. Drawn and Quarterly and Drawn and Quarterly is still out there. I don't know. there's a lot of things that are out there, but sometimes they're boutique stores or boutique efforts by stores. So case in point, Floating World has comic books that they put out. For a time, there was this thing called Study Group. I don't know if they're still doing it, but it's like let's say an internet collective of artists that eventually get their stuff printed up when it's available. Guys like Farrell Dalrymple have done things through there, and Zach Soto, I think. So, and not only that, well, and then Fantagraphics. Fantagraphics and Drawn and Quarterly. We're not going to have Koyama anymore. I don't think she's doing anything. Annie Koyama isn't doing any books, but it just depends on the creators. Noah Van Sciver still does stuff through Birdcage Bottom Press, I think, and or maybe just Kilgore, whatever, something like that. So there's other companies out there that are fringy, that some of them I've carried in the store. Recently, I got one just from this guy, Rob Mursky, and it was called Sludgy, and I have some of his other books, so come on in. You can see those. That's my last bit. Anything else you want to say before we sign off, Rick? Thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. It's not like I have anything else to do.
Oh, I'm really glad I could talk just comic books with you.
Yeah.
Just chat. We didn't really talk about Warren Ellis.
I was going to say you were trying to controversy bait, but we didn't really get to it. So,
well, the thing is like I could talk, but it really is just here.
We don't have to. We could skip it.
Let's not do it. I don't really want to, because I feel bad for the people that feel slighted. But the thing, you can read all about it. There's a site that's all about. All right, so here's the deal.
I read the
all
whole
these
website.
People came out on Twitter talking smack, and it's a lot of the people are like usual suspects. If someone says something bad about somebody, it's going to be talked about by these other people. And they start off by saying things like, oh, it's a real shame that Image is going out and rewarding people that are hostile towards other people, maybe something like that. And it's like, wow, that's a very strong statement about nothing, about nobody and nothing, but Image Comics. Wow, maybe I should look and see what happened. And then, you do. And then someone says something about Warren Ellis finishing Fell with Ben Templesmith. I'm really looking forward to Fell finally finishing. I mean, this was a comic book that came out and it was never finished. And now it's going to finally, Twin Peaks, finally going to get season 3, that type of thing. And then somebody has to bring up that a year ago, people were talking smack about Warren Ellis. And then even guys like Alice Coate, like I've totally in my store had a professional talking smack about them. I think the word was twat, okay? About him, okay? And now
Warren Ellis is a twat, or
no, Alice Coate.
Oh, right, got it.
And it's like, I don't know, and I really don't want to feel poorly or negatively about this person, because I kind of enjoy reading some of the books that this person does, and I don't want to invite horrible things to be said about people, but go and read that freaking thing. And it's like a lot of it is like, I've had this site about Warren Ellis and what he did. Here's an account. 25 years ago. And they're talking about their life, right? And it's like, and now I'm 30 and I meet Warren Ellis, It's online. And
I read the whole whatever people who hate WarrenEllis.com, and it's I like that they have they did at the time, they have a glossary of terminology and everything. Like they were trying to present themselves as though they were like a resource for sexual assault victims, except they were just talking about how they don't like this one guy. But they have a glossary of terms and oh, here's what the term grooming means, and here's what and I was like, are you guys serious? So I read all the testimonials, and I really try to be open-minded, and I read whatever 40 or 50 testimonials, and I was looking for something that was just worse than like, oh, I thought I was going to be his girlfriend and then he ghosted me. And then, I'm like, okay, so you think he's an asshole, but I'm not seeing like the grooming and the sexual assault,
Oh, that must have been what they meant when they said he couldn't finish a story. He just doesn't know how to break it off with somebody properly.
he yeah, and then he needs to let him down a little easier, I guess, or something. But yeah, that website's fun.
Not paint such a rosy picture, maybe also, have a nice form made up that you can fax on over. You can get that thing signed.
Right. Just to be clear, I didn't actually promise you anything.
Right.
Because I can see, if you're flirting with somebody and you want to you think she's real cute and you don't think she'll go out with you, and you're like, hey, maybe I can introduce you to people at a comic book company, and then you don't, and then she gets mad. But that's not the same as they try to make it out like he ruined their career or something, and it's like,
right.
No, you were hoping he would give you a job and he didn't give you a job. Like the end. That's what happened.
That's the real thing about the Warren Ellis story. I mean, a lot of people that the Fantastic Comics Twitter account follows, or people that retweeted, these comments. I mean, there are professionals that are out there that are like slinging mud right now. They're not Warren Ellis level professionals, but they're trying to make trouble for this situation, or for this book coming out, and they're adding image and all that other stuff. And we're having professionals come out in all fields saying that, I mean, just Gail Simone today said that she had a talk with a TV or a movie exec or something. And they're like saying, oh, it was for Fast and the Furious. Which I guess is a very diverse film from what I understand, as far as the actors that are in it, I guess. I've never seen it. You can tell me in the comments. But she said something like, Twitter and social media, if they followed what people said, they would have never made the Fast and the Furious movies. Or something like that. I'm pretty much botching what she said. You can go look it up. But they're giving credit towards they're getting credit to Fast and the Furious for making more diverse movies out there than people actually fighting for it on social media. That's what it was.
Right. And that's what these people having their little social media temper tantrums. That's where I get so annoyed, because they not only are they acting like children, but they think that oh, I'm changing the world by shit talking a comic book writer that dumped me after 2 dates, but they think that they're gonna fix the industry, right, by adding image because they hired Warren Ellis. I don't understand what the fear is. If Warren Ellis gets a job at Image, how is that going to lead to something bad happening to a woman that he dates?
Well, the thing is that for all those years when Eddie Berganza was working at DC, and supposedly he was chatty or touchy or lewd or something with the women in the office, they actually moved him to a section of the building so that he wouldn't be near any other people or women. So, they went to those lengths to do that. And for the longest time, I'm assuming it was like that. You deal with it positively, negatively, or you get them moved on, and you have to see these people still succeed. And that kind of sucks. So if you see Warren Ellis come back and you feel these things about him, I could see people being upset about it. But a lot of times it just feels it's people that are lower in their career, and they can just attack. All they need to do is have Ben Temple Smith say, I don't want to do this book anymore. There's just too many people being assholes about it. And then Warren Ellis doesn't get that book made. We don't get Fell. We don't get that nice little hardcover edition of it that we've been waiting for all this time. All that stuff. Everybody loses.
In exchange, they've saved so many women from the horrors of being exposed to Warren Ellis, right?
Right. And we're specifically talking about Warren Ellis, not other people. But in this situation.
Yeah.
Unless I say somebody else's name. Eddie Bergonis is the easy one, but the thing is, you find out that everybody knew about him. Oh, it's not a secret that dude over at Dark Horse Comics was a touchy guy. And it didn't even matter if it was a boy or a girl. This guy gets a little bit of alcohol in him, and he is a grabby son of a bitch. That type of thing. Everybody knew it. And so now I can't like Mike Mignola because that was that dude's editor, that kind of stuff. It's like, Mike Mignola, how dare you not renounce these books that you did with this guy,
Yeah, that's weird too, where they tried to drag down everybody that worked with the guy. Why didn't you do something about this? That's why. I almost just named some other name. I was going to get us on a tangent. Big tangent. But yeah, I don't understand why they want. Why they expect everybody that worked with him was supposed to. What was Mike Mignola supposed to do about it? They just published his book. Was he supposed to say, "I refuse to let you publish my book" or something? I don't.
Dark Horse gets a lot of heat from people for a lot of the things, especially when it came to that editor. But whatever. He's gone now, so everything's cool, But I'd rather read a Fell book. Hopefully, we can get past this. Conventions are going to be opening up even more, so these people go out, and it's probably
going to do conventions. That'll be fun. Oh man, I want to watch the live stream.
He will eventually.
He probably just going to wait though, right? Because that's sort of the strategy now. Is you just sort of lay low for a while.
Well, that was it. He gave like so that a lot of people talking where they're like, "Oh, he gave an apology," and they waited a year before they announced this thing. Whatever.
That drives me crazy though, because I hate the fake apologies. I hate because you're like bowing to these bullies online that think that they have some sort of right to like demand an apology from somebody that they've never met, somebody that has nothing to do with their life,
This is a true. Parallax Create says the catch with Gail Simone's tweet was that it was an opportunity for her to mention that she has powerful Hollywood connections.
Does she have powerful Hollywood connections?
Enough to tell you how awesome the Fast and the Furious movies do. Oh. I hear that's the biggest movie ever, and John Cena's in the next one.
I've never seen a Fast and Furious.
Speaking of being canceled, John Cena, who's in that movie, I've never seen one either. He had to apologize to China. Did we talk about that last time? I can't remember.
No.
For saying something about, oh Jesus, I always mess it up. Is it Taiwan? He mentioned them like they were autonomous, and maybe it's Beijing. I can't remember how it works.
I don't know what he said. I don't know.
It doesn't matter. Anyway, a lot of people are like, oh my God, this guy kowtowing to China because, he said something wrong. And everybody's like, oh, this Fast and the Furious movie is going to do horribly. And then all these people are talking about how horribly it's doing. And then I'm watching Raw on Monday and it's coming out on Friday. So I guess it did pretty bad.
We talked about the Kimmy Schmidt thing.
Yeah, we did that.
That was when we talked about.
This is it. I'm not going to have you on for a while to talk about this bullshit.
I could tell I probably kind of killed your show today, right?
No, you didn't know. We got all these people talking,
I'll check
and it's still 12 people, and I'm not one of them. So we're doing great. Thank you everybody for tuning in to another crazy episode of. What is this? Fantastic Comics Presents. Let me put that up one more time. Right there. Boom. Thank you to all our patrons. You can see their names scrolling on the bottom. You can be a patron too. It's just in the description down below. Rick, are you doing any comic books anytime soon?
Yes. I have. God, I have like 3 or 4 books that have been just almost done and sitting on my shelf for years, but I'm trying to write a novel, a non-comics novel. And so I'm really trying to prioritize and trying to make myself do one thing. Because when I work on 5 different things at once, then none of them get finished. So I have, I have my stack of YouTube videos that I've scripted and never recorded, and my stack of comic books that they have got like 5 pages left to draw, and I never finished them. So I'm trying to get this novel in the can, and then I will finish the comics because I've got a stack. They'll come out eventually.
What do people say about your voice when they listen to your YouTube videos?
I have a lot of people that say that I talk too fast. I had somebody tell me that my voice was soothing. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. It seems like it's up to their personal preferences. What would you say about my voice?
I think it's I think it's soothing also. Soothing. You've got a scratch to it. Okay. It's different than other people. I know that you've told me it's because of editing that you talk so fast.
Yeah, I try to cut out all the pauses because I don't want the videos to be longer than they have to be.
Sure thing. I understand that. I cut out my breathing in when I do a video.
Because the thing is that whenever I write really long sentences, and it's hard to say the sentence all in one breath, So then in the middle of the sentence there'll be this, and I sound like a fat ass who's running out of breath just from talking. Yeah. So I'm like, oh shit, I have to cut that out. I sound like I'm too fat to talk, So yeah, I go through and cut out all the breaths, and then people are like, "Why do you cut out?" Because I don't want a deep breath in the middle. I need to write shorter sentences. Is what I need to, I'm used to writing to read it, not writing a script to speak it. So
right.
But yeah, that's the explanation.
Yeah. All right, awesome. Well, thank you for that insight. I like that. I like hearing what people have to say. When your face is on screen, it's different.
It's very different. Very different.
Yeah. People have different ideas, but I've got all the way from like, kind of like a surfer stoner guy to like Sam Elliott. And I'm like, wow.
Sam Elliott.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay, that's good. Yeah,
I like all that. But
you have a good voice.
Yeah, well, I wasn't doing this for me, but
you have a good face for video.
Yeah. Amen there. No, but because of that, I was wondering how it was for you, and like, do people like it's interesting when people are like talking about your voice, and it's like when I hear my voice, it's disgusting. I can't stand listening.
I hate it. Was so hard for me to edit my first video just because I hated listening to my voice. It was so hard for me to listen to myself talk. I write. I've never recorded myself. I write, and but I couldn't pay a voiceover artist. So yeah, it was really interesting for me when I posted it to hear what people. And I'm so self-conscious about it, and I'm so worried about my voice and everything, and I'm cringing. And of course, people are totally heartless, and people are saying, you sound terrible, you talk too fast, you suck. And I'm like, well, thank you, because it's exactly what I was terrified of hearing. So
that's okay. I've had in the very beginning, oh, Yule, I like what you have to say, but you got to speed it up.
But then when you speed it up, you'll get the opposite. You'll get
the very next video I did was really long.
Yeah, you should slow everything down just like 5%, just so it's like they're like, what? Yeah.
Anyhow, thank you everybody for tuning into another episode. We will see you next week. Rick, thanks a lot. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Peace.
Bye.